This is Danielle Harris, and you are listening to Rock Video Rental.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. We are continuing on with the Halloween series marathon reviews. And this time we are talking about Halloween 2018. It is directed by David Gordon Green. The plot for it is Laurie Strode confronts her longtime foe, Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since narrowly escaping his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades ago. Cast for this one, we got Jamie Lee Curtis coming back as Laurie Strode. Judy Greer plays Karen. Andy Matichak as Allison. James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle both play The Shape. Haluk Bilginer as Dr. Sartain. Will Patton as Officer Hawkins. And Toby Huss as Ray. There's a few other characters in there, but those are the main ones. So, this is one I saw in theater, much like Rob Zombie's Halloween, I believe I saw in theater. But I can say that I enjoy this one much more. I don't know, like when this was coming out, there was people were either on like one of two sides. Either you're like, oh gosh, not another Halloween movie, or like, oh gosh, they're not rebooting this thing again. And then there's other people that were excited for it. I was one of the people excited for it.
Now, hold on. Help me out here real quick because I just want to confirm something.
Mm-hmm.
Is this taking place right after the first Halloween or the second Halloween?
The first one.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just there was a little bit of gray area and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, there are like, I think I told you the other day that there's like 5 storylines.
Yeah.
In the Halloween series.
Mm-hmm.
There's Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And then there's Halloween 3 is by itself, of course. Then there's Halloween 1, 2, H2O, and Resurrection. There's like the Rob Zombie sequels. There's the Rob Zombie one and its sequel. And then there's this storyline, which is the first one, and then 2018. They ignore the second one. There's actually a part where the Allison, who plays Laurie Strode's granddaughter, is walking with her friends, and they mention to her, they're like, wasn't Michael Myers like your grandma's brother? And she said, no, someone just made that up to have it make more sense, or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that was actually the part that kind of made me be like, okay, what exactly is going on here? So I like it. And at the same time, it's just a little bit, you just got to wrap your mind around it. So I get it. I'm on the right page. I kind of like the idea, but it is going against like everything you've been kind of having in your mind for every other movie.
Oh yeah.
But it's okay. I'm totally fine with
that. Yeah. Okay, so I can give kind of like the brief overview of what happens here. So we get to see like these 2 podcasters, and they're trying to
they're just like us.
Oh my god. Except we're not British. And they probably have more listeners than us, which is funny because their podcast isn't real.
And we don't make money like they do.
Right. So they decide they're gonna do like a true crime podcast, and they're gonna do like a big episode about Michael Myers and like stuff that happened that night. And they decide they're gonna go talk to Michael. And of course, Michael doesn't talk. they like confront him. They have like his mask out and everything, and like he's in this asylum. And you got to get like that kind of just lays the groundwork for what's happening. After that, they travel to Lori's house, and now she's kind of like a shut-in. Um, she's got like this big, like fortified house in the middle of nowhere, and she's got like a bunch of guns and like uh, security and stuff on her house with like cameras and huge lights and all this kind of stuff. Basically, she's traumatized from what happened, and she's just like still living in fear of Michael, who she thinks is gonna like break out and come after her.
Mm.
And she has a daughter named Karen, who's played by Judy Greer. Karen has a family. She's got a daughter and a husband, and their relationship is just not there because of all the crazy stuff that Lori's gone through, all the crazy stuff that she put Karen through, and their relationship is strained to say the least. But at the same time, Allison, it's like she wants to have more of a relationship with Lori, and you can kind of see that they're very similar people. Um, and Lori's kind of the one there that she talks to her a few times, and you get the kind of the feeling that Lori thinks that Karen's too like strict of a mom on Allison, and she just should let her have some fun, which is it's kind of funny like dynamic. Uh, so once these podcasters show up at Lori's, and she, basically she's not going to talk to him. She doesn't want to talk to these idiots. She asks them to leave. They take off, and then like we find out that they're transporting Michael to like another facility, and of course, Michael breaks loose and starts going on a killing spree again. Um, and after he targets some people kind of on the way, of course, he goes and he kills off the podcasters.
Well, no,
And now,
what's more obvious that you knew had to happen was he killed the mechanic.
oh yeah, because he had to reassemble his outfit.
Absolutely.
Then they had to kill the podcasters too, so he get the mask back.
Totally.
And then of course now there's like this huge Halloween party for like at the high school, and Allison and her boyfriend and her friends are going to it. And Michael's kind of like roaming around town, just killing kind of whoever gets in his way, somewhat
Mm.
killing whoever is in his way of getting things that he needs, I guess.
And somehow he finds his way to Lori's daughter's house, or
He's a dog. So I'm gonna say, just knows his way back.
or no, he didn't make it to their house. That's right. No, but he that's what he made it somehow. Random connection in the town. He made
To
it to
Haddonfield, yeah.
Haddonfield, but he made it to the granddaughter's friend's place where she was babysitting.
Yeah.
So, and
That
then
almost seemed kind of like coincidence, I guess.
it was a little bit of a stretch, but
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, like in the first one, you think about it, Michael has been locked up since he was 13, but he was able to drive a car.
yeah, no, I get that.
Or not 13, he was like 8 or something like that. Anyway, but he was locked up for 13 years, I believe.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah. So we also get to meet the quote unquote new Dr. Loomis. And even Jamie Lee Curtis, as Laurie says to him, "Oh, so you're the new Loomis," which is kind of just on the nose and a little funny. Um, so now Michael's like trying to. His motive is it's kind of similar to the first movie where he's just kind of roaming around, and anybody that like is in contact with him that isn't like a small child, except for one,
Except for one.
gets killed. And then he just happens to see Lori because she knows that his bus like crashed and he was able to break free,
And
and
she
now
prayed
she's
for
trying
it
to
to
hunt him
happen.
down. Yeah, she says to the officer, every day I have prayed that Michael would get loose and come for me so I could kill him. And
What's his response? That was a stupid thing to do,
yeah, that
or
was a stupid thing to do.
and I was as soon as she said that, I was just like, oh, they're building up for some. They're trying to make another iconic thing here. They're
Hmm.
going for it, and then I was like, it was bad.
Every day I pray that he would die, but I knew that hell would not have him.
I shot him 6 times.
Uh, but we get a little bit of crazy Lori.
Yeah,
We don't get crazy Loomis. Like, she's kind of an alcoholic and, just traumatized by everything that happened. So she's a little kind of a loose cannon, to say the least. So, it all comes down to like Michael trying to basically he ends up getting brought to Lori, or like Lori says that like he's trying to find me after he saw me, and she goes back to her house and like lures Michael there, and then we get like the final showdown between Lori and Michael, and that was handled really well, I thought.
yeah. I actually gotta admit that I think th- that was the most on the edge of my seat I was through this whole series was when Michael was in the house and Lori was trying to find him.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of tension. They did a really good job of building the tension in that.
Hmm.
Um, so kind of like along the ways I took notes. Well, I guess, we got this far into it, I should say that, Lori's got like this kind of bunker in her basement, and finally like her granddaughter makes her way to the house, through like a series of events. She was actually in a car with Michael and the crazy doctor who pulled a heel turn. Um, so she finally makes her way to Lori's house, and she's there with her mom and Lori
And Michael,
and Michael.
it's like a sitcom.
Yeah,
Da-
pretty
da-
much.
da- da-
Forrest Company too. But so she's like in the basement with her mom, and her mom's got a gun, and Lori, they don't know what happened to her. She's got thrown off the roof, and I'll mention that scene because that was one that I really enjoyed in the theater, and everybody when I saw it with a really good crowd in the theater. But I'll get to that, my experience of it.
Hey,
Um,
that can be important.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, and she's like, oh, I can't. Karen's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And Michael's like trying to come into the basement, but he's like standing back because he knows that she has a gun. She's like, I can't do it. Michael pops up. She's like, gotcha, and shoots him. And then Lori comes out of nowhere and like says, Happy Halloween, Michael, and stabs him. It ends up with, her hitting him in the head with a frying pan, and he falls down in the basement. Karen and Allison run up, and Michael grabs Karen's ankle. They get her free, and Karen says to Allison, like, this wasn't a cage for mom to hide in. She's like, it was a trap. And then she pushes a button and it like closes, like spikes down to block off the doorway. So Michael's trapped in this basement, and like a whole bunch of torches light with gas, and it just like seemingly burns Michael to death.
Hmm.
And like, but we know that there's two more sequels coming out. So when I saw this, I'm like, this is really reminiscent to the end of the second one. Like, how are they going to bring Michael back?
Wait, there's two more?
Yeah. So Halloween Kills is supposed to come out in October, and then Halloween Ends comes out supposed to come out next year. Yeah. Well, you knew there was another one because I told you
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
I knew about Halloween Kills.
Yeah,
And I think we did talk about Halloween Ends at one point, but I
yeah.
did not realize that. So,
But yeah. So kind of some interesting things. Like I said, I kept notes. Um, and this wasn't even something I realized. I heard this on with Gorley and Rust when they reviewed this movie
mhm,
that Lori has three kids in this series of movies, right? Like she has Jamie Lloyd, who was
mhm.
7, and she was born in 1988.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
couldn't
then,
think of the third one at first.
or that was in 1988. She was 7, so she was born in 81. Then in 1998, she has John in H2O, who's 17, and he was born in 1981. And then in 2018, she has Karen, who's 37, and she was born in 1981.
Hmm. Okay then.
So 1981 was a pretty busy year for Lori.
I guess so.
Pop out three kids and one of them dies. And yeah, just kind of interesting thought. I never put that together. And it was kind of cool. I had to share that. So my question, we talked about Michael killing the boy. Like, should I get into kills before I do all this?
Mm, yeah,
I'll just
we
say
could.
this one and then I'll get into kills.
Yeah,
Um, so he kills a boy with a gun, but not any of the trick or treaters later.
yeah.
I question that. And the only thing I can think of is that the boy was standing there with a gun.
Maybe he was a little bit older than a lot of the trick or treaters. And actually, when I was watching it, I texted you and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they finally killed a kid." Um,
Finally, they
not that I
did
was
it.
wanting him to,
Michael, you
but
magnificent bastard, you did it.
but it was more so kind of like I don't know. I mean, like it's interesting. It was different. It didn't really bother me, and it hadn't really bothered me that they hadn't done it yet. But it's just kind of going in with trying to figure out how they want to portray Michael because this one was more of, hey, I'm just going to kill people. And other times it's just like, okay, well, I'm not going to kill kids or I'm trying to, you know, get capture Jamie. So if anybody gets in my way, I'm going to kill him when he,
Hmm.
in the early Halloween movies. Um, there were other times too where he went into the old people's house in Halloween 2 and he just took a knife and he didn't even bother them.
Yeah, and
So,
then this one too, like the baby, he walks
yeah,
by, looks in the crib, and keeps walking.
okay, now that I would have felt that that would have been a little over the top.
Yeah, Rob Zombie would have had him like get the baby and rip him in half.
Yeah, and probably eat the baby or some
Yeah,
ridiculousness. But yeah, no, was that necessary? No. Was it fine that he saw the baby and didn't do anything? I was totally fine with that because I don't know, just fit. But yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where that kid's death though was just interesting because it's just like, okay, so did he just kill him because he got in the way? You know, where does he define it? Because it's just like, what would have he done with the black kid that the babysitter was watching? You
yeah,
know, like was he going to try to kill him? But he didn't kill him because he was in the closet.
yeah.
And he just let the kid be there, and so it's just it. I
Why is Michael
kind
hiding in the closet?
right? Like, why did he not? He is methodical and he kind of works things out, but he also doesn't plan, you know?
Yeah,
So this movie was good. It was better, but it also raised some questions on just trying to understand what they were trying to build Michael into because there's another death once we get to it I'll talk about it, but you just kind of question things on being like, okay, how are you, is he just killing anybody for any reason or does he just kill who gets in his way, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah. Um, so Michael's like hiding in the closet with that kid, and like the kid just sees him, so he's like, didn't mean to wake you. That's
nice
what makes
Family
me think.
Guy.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So I guess after we talked about that kid that he kills, I'll just get into kills here. So he kills a guard, and it's kind of off screen. We don't get to see it. Um, and there's not like any explanation of how he killed him. So there's like a dad and a kid that stop because they see like the bus crash, and there's like all these people walking around. Um, the dad gets killed. He gets his neck broken. And then the kid gets strangled. We joked earlier that he had to reassemble his costume. So he killed a mechanic. He beat him with a hammer. And then, like, the cashier at the gas station, like, pretty much ripped the guy's jaw off.
Uh,
That was pretty brutal. We don't see it happen. We just got to see the aftermath.
mm-hmm.
So Aaron Corey, who is one of the podcasters, he gets his head bashed. And then Dana, the other one, she gets strangled. There's an old woman that he walks into her house. She gets beaten with a hammer. Then there's a young woman who is like right in her front window. As soon as she closes the blinds, like Michael stabs her in the back of the neck and it comes out of her throat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then Vicky, who is Allison's friend, is babysitting. She gets stabbed to death. And then Dave, who's her boyfriend, he gets stabbed and then pinned to the wall.
In the face.
Yeah. Oscar, who is Allison's boyfriend's dopey friend, he gets stabbed and impaled on a gate.
Who was totally a knockoff of. Oh no. Why can't I think of his name? Friday 13th.
Shelley?
Yeah, thank you. I blanked. I didn't have it in my notes.
Officer Hawkins, he gets stabbed in the neck by Dr. Sartain. And then that's when Dr. Sartain has a stupid heel turn where all of a sudden he's like obsessed and wants to see Michael like kill people. And he wants Michael to talk like so bad.
Now, I am not. Okay, let's come back to that. Let's finish the kills and then we'll come back to
Well, he gets killed off by getting his head stomped flat. Deputy Walker gets his throat slashed with a knife, and then a knife gets stabbed into his head. And then Deputy Keeves gets decapitated and his face carved into a jack-o'-lantern.
And and what's up with that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one. That one's interesting. And then there's Ray, who's Karen's husband. He gets strangled to death.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's it.
All right,
so
let's
17 kills.
Let's work backwards real quick.
Right.
The jack-o'-lantern kill.
Yeah.
Too much thought goes into that.
Yeah.
It was cool and creepy, but not Michael.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah. So that's my quick thought on that. Going back a few more, where we were talking about Dr. Sartain.
Mm-hmm.
I was not super bothered by him doing, as you mentioned, the heel turn. I was the thing that just kind of made it where I was just like, okay, what? Him putting the mask on.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like that. That made it feel like to me like he was totally mental, and it's just like, how have you been passing as a doctor?
How did Dr. Loomis pass as a doctor?
Well, he wasn't that crazy. He was crazy, but not that crazy.
I got the little girl. Come get her.
But yeah, so when it happened, I was definitely surprised. I was okay with it because it wasn't Dr. Loomis. But at the same time, it was really kind of the mask thing where it's just like, okay, I mean, this guy's probably been obsessing over Michael. You know, he wants to understand. He wants closure, or he wants to be a part of it or whatever. But the whole him putting on the mask thing. And then also that was kind of a weird situation too, where Michael was in the car with Lori's granddaughter, but then he kills the doctor and completely lets her get away.
Yeah.
So another kind of questionable thing. So that was kind of one of my biggest things with this, was just like there were some things that were not normal Michael. Fortunately, they were not as big of issues as we've seen in previous movies.
Yeah.
But they still kind of just raised some questions where it took away a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. I guess what I don't like about Dr. Sartain, like all of a sudden doing the heel turn, is that I just found it kind of pointless. Like, did it need to happen? Like, he could have just, they could have went after Michael. The sheriff took Sartain with him to find Michael because, just like Loomis, he knows the most about him.
mhm.
Um, and they find him, hit him with a car, and then they go check on him. Like, that would have been the time where, Sartain could have been like obsessed with him and like, oh, I need to take my patient. And he could have maybe just thought he was dead and um, like he wants to take him and go off somewhere. Like he didn't have to be like kill the sheriff. They could have handled it differently. I felt like,
That he could have knocked him out instead of killing him.
yeah,
Yeah, I've
or like him and the cop could have just like took Michael and then like thinking he's dead, and then Michael, sits up like normal,
mhm.
and then killed both of those guys, and like that's how he got the lorry. Was I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there definitely could have been different ways. I think I would have liked it better if he didn't kill the Sheriff Hawkins.
Yeah, it just seems kind of ruthless for a guy who was a professional psychologist.
Yeah. It was a little bit too far. And so while I didn't mind the heel turn, it was a little bit extreme. So the fact of him killing, because it would have definitely made more sense if he just like knocked him out, or maybe he killed him accidentally by trying to knock him out or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but then it would have been because I feel like he did need to go a little bit crazy somehow because I don't know how they would have gotten Michael out to Lori's house.
Yeah.
So there had to be some connection there. But yeah, it could have been handled better. I definitely agree with you there.
Couldn't Michael have just stolen the car and like maybe like when it happened, Allison could have laid down in the back seat. Michael didn't know she was there
Yeah, but then
because Michael like they would have to show Michael driving more, I guess.
well then how would he know where to go?
I don't know. I just kind of feel like maybe he's got some kind of weird connection with Lori.
Yeah. I mean that question wouldn't have been as huge as some other things in the movie, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing about that, so the cop plows his car into Michael without confirmation that it really is him.
Hmm.
And it kind of like harkens back to Halloween 2.
Oh, I totally thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think I mentioned this before. Like I knew it and I didn't mention it. I don't think when we did that. Did you know who that was that got hit by the car that was dressed like Michael? It was
Man, did we
Ben Tramer, the guy that Lori had a crush on in the first movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
make that connection.
my mind is like, what if the cop ran into that guy that they thought was Michael? It was just like another relative of Ben Tramer, like his younger brother or something.
That would have been funny.
And his parents were just like, it happened again. I can't,
No.
I told you kids to stop dressing like Michael Myers. But yeah, that's cracked me up. Like, there's no chance a cop would ever do that. Like, he would get out of the car and like hold his gun on him.
Yeah, I mean, to a little bit though. I mean, like if he went through and survived the first Michael Myers attack and knowing how Michael Myers is, like he could have been a little bit, crazy with it too.
Yeah, I still think at the same time he would at least got out of the car or like opened up the window, and leaned out or something and like tell him to put his hands up. And if he didn't respond, like, threaten to shoot. and then if he didn't respond, then shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the whole like plowing into him with a car cracked me up.
Yeah.
Um, so the part in every movie like this now, they have to explain why they can't get in contact with someone. So the whole movie, they're trying to get a hold of Allison, and the reason why she doesn't have her phone is because she catches her boyfriend kissing this girl at the high school Halloween party.
Chad.
Yeah. Oh, and also the girl he's kissing is wearing like a leather bustier at a high school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Totally would have passed.
Yeah, a lot of times in my high school, they wouldn't even let girls wear tank tops. So, anyway, um, they have
But
like
it's
an argument, and
2018,
then
man. Come on.
right, they have like an argument, and then he's like takes her phone out of her hands and throws it into something. And I was trying to figure out what it was he threw it into.
I think it was Punch.
Was it punch? Because it looked like pudding.
Well, they I've seen it before at some events where they make like a punch and then they put ice cream in it and it
Uh,
kind of like melts and foams.
okay, maybe that's what
That
it was.
that's what it looked like.
I was trying to figure out what it was. Was that a pudding or like a nice ambrosia salad?
You can't have your pudding unless you finish your mate.
He like throws her phone in that, and like her phone is still ringing, and she just walks off, just leaves it.
Yep.
Like you couldn't just reach in the punch bowl and pull it out.
Yeah, she couldn't try to save it. She was just like, okay.
I feel like a normal person would reach in that punch bowl and be like, "No, my phone," and then look at it and say, like, "Oh, my grandma keeps calling me. My grandma who never calls me.
Yeah.
Like there must be something important,
Or freak down, maybe punch the guy in the face.
right?" Where do you get off? But yeah, um, and then the ending. How in the hell are they going to explain how Michael escaped? Because when they
Oh.
show the house burning at the end, you don't see Michael in there.
Hmm.
And then I don't know if you watched all the way to the end after the credits.
Oh no.
You
There
can
was
hear,
something?
not really, you can hear
Oh.
Michael breathing,
Oh, okay.
kind of like the first movie. But like going into this, you already knew there was going to be a sequel because when they announced this movie, like they
Ah,
announced that there was going to be three.
I didn't know it. No, I'm just kidding. When I watched it, of course I knew it because I've seen a trailer for the next one.
Right. Um, Also, a thing I noticed this time too was that at the end of the movie, did you notice Allison kept the knife?
Yes, I was wondering. If I did not know they were making another one, I'd be like, no, don't you dare try to make it where she turns into Michael. I mean, they could very well do something like that still, but
No, no. We got to have that again.
yeah, but they definitely have, yeah, I mean, they definitely have Michael coming back. So,
Well, what that was a reference to was in the first movie. Remember we talked about why does Lori drop the knife?
hmm
Yeah, and Allison doesn't. I think that was kind of in reference to that because that's a question a lot of people ask: is
huh,
why does Lori like drop the knife in the
yeah.
first movie?
Maybe that's how Michael survives. Maybe it's not really Michael in the next movie. It's just the granddaughter.
Maybe, maybe it's Lori finally snaps. But I guess we can get into acting and stuff.
Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna ruin the whole next movie for you. You know why?
Mm.
Because it's all a dream. She's in a
Oh
coma.
my god! Oh god!
It's like the beginning of the second Rob Zombie movie.
Oh, jeez. You just start seeing a white horse and her mom, Janet Lee, dressed in white.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, acting in this. Jamie Lee Curtis is great.
Hmm.
I think she does a really good job. You could tell that she really enjoyed doing this movie, much like with Halloween H2O.
Yeah. I honestly think that in general, the acting was really good.
Yeah, I think so too. I will say that Judy Greer I thought was kind of wooden at times.
Yeah.
And I like Judy Greer. I think she's good in a lot of things. Um, the stuff that I've seen that she's popped up in, and she was in this sitcom on FX called Married, and that
Okay.
was pretty funny. Um, she showed up in things like Big Bang Theory for like a couple episodes, and I thought she was good in that. But I don't know, she seems a little wooden in this at times. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe this is like the first horror movie she's ever done. Maybe she just normally does comedies, but
Mhm. Yeah, they all did pretty good. I mean, the younger stars, some of it wasn't as stellar as other parts, but I mean, it was still good and effective. Jamie Lee Curtis definitely did great. Um, Actually, I think there were a couple times. Man, was it this one or am I thinking of the last one where Michael, even just the walking, was a little unusual to me.
yeah.
Like the way he would turn and move was not, it seemed a little too natural, like normal. I'm a normal human being. Oh, I don't know
Well, you know
exactly.
that some of the times he was played by Nick Castle, who was the original Michael, right?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
mentioned him at the beginning. So, but yeah, overall, though, I mean, in the general aspect of this, I would say that the acting was really good and far above a lot of the other movies overall.
Yeah, I thought Officer Hawkins, Will Patton, who played him, I thought he did a pretty good job.
Hmm.
I liked that character, and I was disappointed when he died. I guess that's kind of a good thing with slasher movies that you have a character that you care if they live or not.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but just Jamie Lee Curtis did such a great job in this.
Yeah, can we talk about the weird thing too
Eh,
about the Sheriff Barker that had like next to no part in this movie?
yeah,
Like he shows up, cowboy hat and all, and I was just like, "Oh man, who's
yeah.
this guy gonna be?" And nothing.
That guy's a character, and he just says a couple things. You know who he reminded me of is the character Creighton Duke in Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Jason expert?
Hmm.
It looked a lot like him.
Yeah.
Black guy with a black cowboy hat,
Yep. I'm
kind
the
of a
only one.
gruffer voice.
I'm the only one who knows how to kill him.
But I'm not going to tell you. I'll see you later. I got places to be. I hear they have a really good ambrosia salad at the high school, but there's a phone floating in it. Um, yeah, I guess Toby Huss as Ray, he's kind of like the quote unquote comic relief. I guess he's kind of a doofy character.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess wasn't too disappointed when he was killed off. He was a
Yeah.
little annoying at times. One character that really stood out to me too is that little kid that Allison, her friend, was babysitting.
Yes.
He was pretty
He did
funny.
good.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was good.
I love the part where when Michael came out, his reaction.
He was just like, "Oh shit," and runs off, and he just hightails it out of there. It's exactly what I would do.
I know. I was just like, this, it gave a sense of realism to it where it's just like, that would totally happen.
Yeah, like, and he's gone. You don't see him the rest of the movie. He's just gone.
They should have done another scene where like when they were driving with Lori's granddaughter in the car, he just randomly goes running down the street in the background,
Just bare feet.
screaming.
He just like ends up in the next town. Uh, oh, geez. Yeah, I guess I can get into trivia and facts here. I got a fair amount for this. There was a
Rock.
lot for this. So, when they were making this movie, the first person that Jamie Lee Curtis saw when she showed up for the first day of filming was Malik Akkad, who was
Hmm.
the producer and son of the original producer, um, Mustafa Akkad.
Hmm.
Mustafa Akkad was murdered in Jordan in 2005. So Jamie Lee Curtis hadn't seen Malik since 1978 when they made the original one. And like
Oh,
she said, she instantly recognized him and she broke into tears
oh wow.
because she really liked Mustafa Akkad.
Oh, okay.
But um, so in the child's bedroom, the rotating lamp, like the kid we talked about that runs away, he has
Yeah.
that rotating lamp that projects on the wall. It features a clown with a knife, which is a nod to the original movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the role of Allison, who's Laurie's granddaughter, became like somewhat of a coveted role. Multiple popular actresses, including Lucy Hale and Emma Roberts, met with Danny McBride to personally talk about the movie. So, however, the studio decided they wanted to go back to the roots of the first movie and cast an unknown actress, like they did with Jamie Lee Curtis,
Yeah.
which I thought she did a pretty good job too
Yeah.
for being, one of her first movies because it's an introducing when they show her name in the credits.
Yeah.
Um, so it became the highest grossing Halloween film in its opening weekend. Like that's how many people went and saw that. Um,
Rock.
so the song that is playing when the dad and his boy notice the crash is a Western version of the song that Laurie sings in the first movie. Remember, she's walking down the street, just kind of singing to herself.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
movie that was a song that Jamie Lee Curtis came up with off the top of her head,
Uh,
and they did a country version of it for this movie.
wait, she made up the song or
Yeah, she
like,
made up that song.
oh, wow. Okay.
So PJ Souls, who played Linda in the first movie, she has a cameo as the teacher. So around the 1 hour mark, you can see Trick or Treat is wearing Silver Shamrock mask.
Oh, dang it. I missed it.
You missed it? Yeah, I totally saw it in the theater because I went with Craig, and when they popped up, I like elbowed him. I was like, "Dude, Silver Shamrock."
Nice.
Oh. So JB Lee Curtis plays the same character in 6 decades. She was in Halloween in 1978, Halloween 2 in 1981, Halloween H2O in 1998, Halloween Resurrection in 2002, Halloween in 2018, and she's going to be in Halloween Kills in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I mentioned that I already mentioned that there's 5 working timelines for Halloween.
Hmm.
So working titles for this movie, we got Halloween Returns, Halloween H40, 40 years later,
Ugh.
and Halloween The Wrath of Michael Myers.
Hmm.
I kind of like The Wrath of Michael Myers because it fits better with like parts 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Kind of fits better within the series. But I mean, they're not on that timeline. So
Yeah.
I thought there would be a better title than just Halloween.
Halloween, Lori gets serious. This time it's personal.
Halloween, this time Lori turns into Grambo. But an angry video game nerd and like the guys that he has on his channel, they joked it should have been called Halloween H2O20.
Oh, guys, that's awesome.
So going to the talents of Jamie Lee Curtis. So the scene with the crying baby, and you never see the baby.
Hmm.
Jamie Lee Curtis does the crying noises.
That's funny.
Yeah, and they're like really realistic.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of those hidden talent things. And I feel like I saw her on a talk show one time, like a late night show, and she did that,
That's funny.
like baby crying noises. I feel like, I don't know, I might be just imagining that, but I feel like that happened. So this movie had a $10 million budget and it did 255.6 million in the box office.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Um, that's all I got for trivia.
I
So we
got
can.
I got some real quick to mention for you. So the kid that we were just talking about,
Yes.
the character Julian,
Yeah.
guess what?
Hmm.
He's in Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I heard that. Oh man.
I'm not sure what he's going to be doing, but I'm excited now.
I'm excited that Anthony Michael Hall is in it and he's gonna play Tommy Doyle.
Nice.
But I'm surprised they didn't offer that Paul Rudd
Oh
come
gosh.
back. I think the girl that originally played Lindsay Wallace in the first one is going to come back
Okay.
and play her again. So I'm kind of excited for that movie.
Yeah, it'll be
But
interesting.
let's jump into grades. So both from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think those are?
IMDb, let's give it a 6.8.
It is a 6.5. You're pretty close.
Ooh, nice. All right, so Rotten Tomato critic, 63%.
79.
Ooh, dang. All right. Let's give the audience score an 81.
70.
Ooh,
A
man.
lot of people kind of hate on this movie. A lot of fans of Halloween don't like it. And they thought it was like overly referential.
Nah.
And I don't know. I liked the references to the original movies. And some people that are like big horror fans um, said that they were too obvious. But I guess they might be obvious if you're completely and utterly obsessed with Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I've seen Halloween quite a bit. It's one of my favorite movies, and some of them were like a slap to the face to me. I don't know.
One thing I want to say is I feel like I really like this one, but I kind of feel like they could have gone away. Well, I guess the ending was a little bit difficult to work with, but they're going to be doing it in this one. But I feel like they still could have let Halloween 2 exist, kind of.
Yeah,
So essentially, kind of, oh, except for Lori grew up. I didn't think about that because I was going to say if they redid it, but yeah, Lori was too old. Um, if they tried to play it off, but then they just completely threw out the part where Lori was related to him and then also had the ending be a little bit different so he didn't die.
yeah. Well, I mean, they brought him back in part four and didn't explain anything, so
Yeah.
he just had a burn on his hand and bandages on his face.
Hmm.
And Dr. Loomis had a bowl of oatmeal smacked on his face.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking if they were trying to explain it better because there were parts there the concept of Halloween 2, like there was a lot to it that I enjoyed and everything, but
Yeah, same here. It's one of my favorites of the series.
yeah.
But I guess I'll get into my grade. So, I mentioned I saw this one in theater. The group that was all in the theater was really good. Everybody was really into the movie. There wasn't anybody like texting or like talking or anything. And like the parts where you're supposed to laugh, people laughed. It was just, I don't know, a good experience. I went with Craig and our friend Jason and Scott.
Okay.
And we all had knowledge of the other movies too, so it was fun to like talk about on the way home and everything. But yeah, there's a few times where we'd be like nudging each other, like, "Oh, did you notice that? Oh, did you notice that?" Uh, and I mentioned the scene towards the end where they have like the face off with Lori and Michael, and it's like almost the roles are reversed at one point where Lori gets thrown out of the building and she falls down on the grass, and
Hmm.
Michael looks at her and sees her laying there, and then he gets distracted by something else, and then he looks back and Lori's gone,
Yeah.
just like Michael in the first one. Uh, so many people laughed during that I don't know. It was just kind of cool. Like it was just kind of cool to be like in an audience that could respect and realize what was going on,
Hmm.
like what that reference was. And then later too, when Karen says "gotcha" and shoots Michael, and then Lori comes out of the shadows, just like Michael in the first one,
Oh yeah.
and like stabs him in the back. That was uh that was pretty great too. And that the scene where Lori is like in the first movie and she is up against the door frame crying and Michael like slowly appears in the background.
Hmm.
They did that with like a dimmer switch, I guess, for like the lighting.
Okay.
Like so it'll just illuminate his mask slowly. But that might be my favorite scene in a horror movie. I feel like incredibly effective, and like no one ever uses that. I feel like the
Uh,
thing that gets used too much is
Jump
um
scare.
jump scares. Like you look in the mirror, no one's there. You look down, you look back up, and they're there. That's
Yeah.
overused. Um, Kind of like look over your shoulder, no one's there. Look back, and they're there. Where I like the idea of Michael showing up slowly, and we realize he's there before Lori does.
Hmm.
I don't know. I like that better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as well versed in the genre as you are, but I can't recollect very many times that that's used either, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, and I was really happy that they did that, even like just reversing the the roles there with Lori slowly showing up behind Michael.
Hmm.
It was great. Um, I don't know. It was just I think the experience boosts us up a little bit higher for me. I know that it has its faults, and there are some things I don't really care for. I don't like how Allison's boyfriend doesn't get his comeuppance.
Oh,
He
yeah.
should have been killed.
I didn't think about that.
In normal slasher terms, like anybody who's a complete and utter douche like that gets theirs. Usually gets the worst.
Oh, dude, you know what would have been good
Hmm.
is if he followed um the two of them when they left
Yeah,
and then caught up to them, and he was the one who discovered Oscar's body,
yeah,
and then Michael killed him. That would have been good.
yeah. He could have done like a Jason kill where he like twists the guy's head around backwards or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that bothered me. I didn't care for Dr. Sartain and his heel turn. I thought it was just kind of unnecessary and just I don't even like on a I've watched this 3 times now, I think. And like on the rewatch, I'm kind of just like, it's still not working for me.
Hmm.
And there's just a couple things we mentioned that are just like don't really fit with the Michael character all that much. But at the same time, like this is a movie that I had a lot of fun watching and I enjoy, and I think it's one of the better of the series. So I was really kind of trying to figure out what I was going to rate this, and I think I got to settle on a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Whereas it's a lot of fun to me, but I admit like it's not a perfect movie, and there's some things I wish they would have done better. And I'm only hoping that Halloween Kills is better than this, but I'm really kind of interested to see how they're going to explain how Michael got out of that building.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I'm right there with you on a lot of this. I mean, some things didn't bother me as much as they bothered you. Um, but I mean, it's a little tough to say too because I'm trying to look at it in the scope of all the movies as best as possible. But also, I mean, we are coming off of a movie that we both rated point 0.5. So I mean, this is like, Oscar winning
Oscar.
performances and movie of the year content material compared to the last one. So I'm trying to look at it comparatively to the series and not just the last movie.
Yeah.
um there are certain things, as we already talked about, so I don't need to dive into it so much, that could have been better, but um putting in the connection and everything on, going from the first movie to this one, I think that it it works. I thought that they did a good job with it, that they went a good route with going back to the original ideals of the movie. of Halloween and Michael and things like that, and they were able to get rid of a lot of garbage
Mm-hmm.
that we dealt with through a lot of the other movies. So I want to say that this is because I'm looking at my list to try to see. I actually haven't rated anything else this, so man. So the closest one that I'm kind of comparing this to, I guess, would be Halloween 2. And as I mentioned, I already um I said the end of the movie, I was on the edge of my seat probably more so than any other
Mm-hmm.
movie. So I feel like some things were done better than some cases. I think I'm actually going to, man, I don't know if I'm gonna hurt myself with this or not, but I'm gonna go with a 4.5.
Okay.
Um, so I'm hoping that that's a logical comparison to everything, and I'm not just doing a hard base off of our last movie essentially, because it was leaps and bounds and miles beyond that one. So, but yeah, I'll
Yeah,
give it
I
a
would.
4.5.
It's funny that you compare this to Halloween 2 because really it's trying to be a Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And I would put it on the same plane as that. And like, I hold Halloween 2 in high regard. I think it's one of the best slasher movie sequels.
Mm.
And I would say this is right up there with that. And when I got out of the theater and we were talking about it, I said that I think this might be the best Halloween movie after the first one. And it's
Yeah.
pretty close, I would say. Halloween 2, I still really enjoy. Halloween 3, I enjoy for how insane it is. But
Hmm.
that's like me giving it a 4. Uh, Giving Halloween 3 a 4 is different than me giving this movie a 4 because Halloween 3 has that campy, so bad that it's good stuff
Yeah.
in it.
Hmm.
Where it's a good movie. It's kind of funny that it's directed by a guy who normally does comedies, and the writer for it is Danny McBride, who is a comedic actor. So it has been in lots of different things, like what Hot Rod and Eastbound and Down all that stuff. Just kind of funny that he was able to write such a like decent horror movie.
Hmm.
Like, is it a masterpiece? No. I mean, you can really only argue that the first one is. But yeah, it's definitely a movie I totally enjoy. So I get why you rate it so high. So hopefully Halloween Kills can live up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how they explain Michael getting out of there. I have seen pictures of what Michael looks like in the next one, and his mask, like part of it, is melted.
Well, that's at least good.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, can't wait for that one. Hopefully, we get a chance to see it in theater.
Rock.
But yeah, so until then, as always, be kind and rewind.